Avengers Infinity War, The Goonies, Skyscraper and Marrowbone, all coming up next on the Movie Burner blog rundown. And joining us as usual is John, and first up we're going to talk about a review from DM Anderson. This is Avengers Infinity War, which came out at the end of April this year. Seems like a lifetime ago now. It's coming out in Blu-ray very shortly here in the UK. Dave's already done a Blu-ray review, which clearly means that it's already out in the US. I'm looking forward to getting this on Blu-ray for all the extra stuff, all that, and obviously getting back and seeing this film probably for the 7th time, because we did keep going back to the cinema to see this because it was such an epic event.
Yes, I don't usually buy Blu-rays, as you well know, Stephen. I've went digital, but for this I may make an exception. I tend to make exceptions for the big releases, the likes of Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy, because it's such a cool box set. The Star Wars box set, just the big releases, Back to the Future, Lord of the Rings, and this is certainly up there with those for me. Just a culmination of 10 years of hard graft, getting to see, well, it's not quite the conclusion to Thanos' story, and how it's all interconnected in with our heroes, the Avengers, because also next year he's going to be in that as well. Who knows what part he's going to play next year? Is he going to just be in it for 2 minutes and then give up? Because sure, if you remember correctly, at the end of the film his gauntlet was wilted, but he did still manage to go through a portal, so it didn't really matter much. But yeah, I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed this film. I've lost track of the amount of times I went to see it. I think it was 3 or 4 times the last I checked. I didn't really lose any enjoyment or thrill out of going to see it. Such as the spectacle they've managed to create, the Russo brothers. It's just a wondrous, nigh on 3-hour film. It's just packed to the rafters with great comedy, great action sequences, some brilliant performances, most notably Chris Hemsworth's, who I think this is his best performance to date as for. He just put in a fantastic performance the year before with Ragnarok, but he's really upped it in this one. I'm going off, I'm giving my own mini review here, Stephen. I thoroughly enjoyed reading Dave's review. He says himself in the review he's not entirely sure or a fan of the concept of splitting a film into 2 halves and telling a story that's deemed uncompleted before completing it in a second film. I kind of agree with him, but I'd never really viewed this film as a 2-parter story. I thought it was a self-contained story in itself with Thanos. This is basically telling you a backstory of Thanos, the motivations behind the guy, given the triumphant culmination of his arc, where he also gets to click his fingers. You see what he's had to sacrifice with Gamora and stuff, and then we're going to get to see the Avengers fighting back and saving the day in the second film. So for me it wasn't really a 2-part special, it was more like a self-contained story that just so happens to bleed right into the next film.
I'm the same, John. I'd be very content with just that being the only Infinity War movie. I do agree with Dave as well. I will reserve a final verdict until next year, if or not the second part of Infinity War is justified. I would have been happy for them just to continue along, making other films and playing the story out that way. But I'll take it. I'll take a second part to this because it was such an amazing movie. We were talking just before we came on air about the original geeks grew up with these comic books 20, 30 years ago. They must be in heaven at the moment. I can't claim to be that. I liked Spider-Man and Batman and Superman when I was growing up, but I never had the comics and stuff like that. We weren't very privileged here in Glasgow to have comic book stores, etc. Even to this day we're very limited on what we can
do, really, isn't it?
And it's I don't know if it's something that will eventually catch on here. I'm not sure. I don't think it will, but I'm very happy for those chaps. They've waited a long time for this, and I'm pretty sure there was a few tears when a lot of these guys went along to the cinema to see this movie for the first time. It's an emotional roller coaster, as you said, especially with the relationship with Thanos and Gamora. I've got to be honest, I was very choked up in that scene. It gets you worked up as well. You remember my reaction when Thor attacked Thanos at the very end. I thought,
aim for the head.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that, so I can't hold that against Thor, because I would have done the same thing, and I was very satisfied with the way he executed that move as well. But it was obviously the wrong move. But it was very satisfying. It was a satisfying end as well. The bad guy won. He doesn't see himself as a bad guy though. Nope. He's sitting on that porch, somewhere in the Philippines, and it's just a perfect ending to a perfect film. We'll see what happens in the next chapter. But again, I do agree with some of what Dave is saying in his review, but there is other parts that I would have been happy with just a standalone. I've got to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, it would have worked as well, Stephen, because as you did say, it's Thanos at one end. He's the bad guy, and such as was the storytelling in the film, it made sense for him to win because he's such a powerful guy. You see it with the battle on Titan. I've lost track. I think it was maybe 5 Avengers: Star-Lord, Doctor Strange, Iron Man, Spider-Man, and the other 2 Guardians. I think you had. I always forget Dave Bautista's character's name, and then the little antenna person, I always forget her name as well. But she does the best job of them all in the Battle of Titan, because of course she mind controls Thanos, manages to bring him under her control for a short period before Chris Pratt's Star-Lord has a flaky and decides he wants to knock him out when he discovers that he killed and sacrificed Gamora for the ultimate goal. But I'm getting sidetracked. That shows you the sheer strength of the guy. He gets the gauntlet back on his hand and he crushes that moon and brings it down. He just wreaks utter hell upon them. So this is an incredibly powerful man with one of the most powerful items in the whole MCU universe. So it makes sense for him to be the victor at the end of it all. And as I did say, you'll have a second film to explain how the Avengers regain the upper hand and restore parity to the universe. In terms of the second film, I'll be very intrigued to see where it does go, because also we've got almost the original lineup with the Avengers. We've got Captain America, Thor, Iron Man, so it's pretty much the original lineup. But we're not talking about that, we're talking about this film, and I do agree with what he said as well. It's not casual fan friendly because there isn't any real character exposition at any point in the film. It doesn't explain why these characters are doing what they're doing or what the hell's going on, because it's 10 years of a culmination of 10 years of hard work. You've got 18 films all come together to explain this story, and if you're not aware of just the relationship between Captain America and the likes of Iron Man, the friction there from Civil War, then you're not going to be getting that opening scene when Tony Stark comes through the portal and he speaks to Doctor Strange and then he refuses to contact Steve Rogers for assistance. You'll not understand why Vision's hiding out in Scotland, in Edinburgh, which was a great moment, incidentally. You'll not get all those things, and I agree with him, it's not really necessary. If there's a film that's going to cast off the shackles of character exposition, then it's this film after 18 films and 10 years of hard work. I also agree with what he says as well about how they do a masterful job of laying all the groundwork during the past decade of the MCU films. That's kind of what I hinted at there. But it just plays out beautifully on the screen in this nigh on 3 hour running time. When you see the likes of Peter Quill, as Dave says in his review, engaging in verbal chest thumping with Thor, the back and forth between those two, the back and forth between Tony Stark and Doctor Strange as well, that was a moment I was really excited to see, because they're obviously very similar characters, quite arrogant, quite cocksure. To see them clashing was amazing. I loved the handling of the villains as well, the Black Order, all these side characters I wasn't hugely aware of part of this film because I've not read any of the comic books. Just the way that all interplayed. These were guys that could have been villains and great antagonists in their own right in separate standalone films. When you look back at the first Avengers film, you have Loki as a villain. I mean, it's pathetic compared to Thanos. I love the way he handled all. The Russo brothers handled all the little side villains, the way they played off as nuisances for all the characters, as such the likes of Black Widow with that female one, I forget her name, Hulk having his on-off battle with that big guy on Wakanda, and it just allowing Thanos to do his job in behind, gathering all the Infinity Stones into his gauntlet before he comes onto the scene at the end in Wakanda and unleashes the finger click. I was about to say hell, but it wasn't hell. It was all very quiet and peaceful until you seen them all dusting off, and that was a very shocking moment as well, Stephen. Seeing all your favourite characters dusting away. The one that got me the most was probably Peter Parker, but as we've since found out, Groot with his little emotional bit, and even Black Panther, it was a shock to see him going away, but we know they're not going to be truly gone. And the one final thing I'll add, Stephen, before I let you back in, is I've since seen there's rumours floating around that perhaps Loki faked his death once again. I don't know if that's true. I don't know how you can fake being choked by Thanos. It looked very real to me, but that's rumours that are flying around. What would you think of that?
I think he broke his neck as well.
He did.
I hope that's not true.
No,
as much as I like Tom Hiddleston's character and portrayal of Loki, I think the character's done and dusted now. I think it's time to move on from that. You're talking, 6-7 years of this character being around the MCU now. He's kind of served his purpose now. I think, I think bringing him back for third time would just be ridiculous. It'd just become really boring, and it'd take away that moment as well.
Yeah, and he lost the stone as well, Stephen, so how can he shapeshift? He can't really, you know what I mean, he can't do any mischief.
Hopefully that's just a rumour, John, but you're right. I mean, I was going to touch on the relationship between Tony Stark and Doctor Strange. I was very keen on seeing this myself. Very egomaniacal, both characters in their own right, and there was a lot of humour going back and forth between these two characters, Tony Stark calling him a wizard, etc. And by the end of the movie, both of them were sort of on a mutual level at this point, and working together. Relationships as well. I think the relationship between Vision and Scarlet Witch was very interesting as well. As you said, you touched upon it on those Edinburgh scenes, John. I thought they were very well handled. Didn't get too mushy or anything like that, but you could sense the love between both characters had developed since the last time we saw them. Paul Bettany's a fantastic actor, and I think he played his part in this movie as well, Vision. It was vital right up to the very end. And the relationship between Gamora and Nebula as well was a little bit more revealing in this as well. Nebula's such a tragic character. The way she's been treated by Thanos over the years, his own daughter. She's just an absolute emotional and physical wreck of a character.
She's a culmination of about 50 million pieces of metal. I think that's because the battles, and every time they lost a battle, they took something off her.
That's right. She's
also lost a lot of battles. Sadly.
She should have took up another profession. She's not very good at fighting, but she is actually, when you see her going toe to toe with Gamora, she's quite the match for her. And also the relationship between Peter Quill and Gamora as well. It was so sad, the demise of this character. We were just talking about Loki there, and will he or won't he return? As much as I like Gamora as a character, I don't want to see her return. Again, it's going to take away that moment. It was such a powerful moment as well. The Ant-Man and the Wasp film might explain this, but that only came out on Monday here, so we're going to have to wait obviously to probably the weekend before we catch this to see if this explains. I don't think it does actually. I don't think there's too much revealing in that movie.
There's a subtle little reveal in the end credit scene when they show that they're going to heavily utilise the quantum realm. I think we actually spoke about the end credit scenes in a podcast a couple of weeks back, and it was established that Scott Lang gets stranded in a ship inside the quantum realm. So I think that'll play a part. Whether they go back and retcon the entirety of the film, I don't think so, because it would, as you say, it would make the film pretty hollow going back and watching it. And I think it's very important for Gamora to stay dead, just for Chris Pratt's Star-Lord as well. Star-Lord, I mean, the impact that death will have on him, it'll make him a completely different person. It'll shape his story going forward.
I think it's going to shape the character as well, John, because as much as I enjoyed those last two Guardians films and Peter Quill, I think it's time for a little change in that character now. I think he has to get more serious. I love the banter between him and Thor in this movie as well, John. But I think this would give the character another dimension, and it's going to happen. I'm afraid you're going to get characters we're going to lose that we loved, and I think Gamora and Loki are going to be in that collection. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, and the final thing I'll say, Stephen, is he does touch upon the Blu-ray. You said you were looking forward to buying it for the extras. He says it's quite disappointing, the supplemental material department, that the featurettes are entertaining but mostly promotional and pretty short compared to those included on many other Disney Marvel releases. So maybe I won't buy that Blu-ray after all. But listen, thoroughly enjoyed this film. Thoroughly enjoyed every part of it. The characters, the culmination of the hard work, the comedy, the blend between seriousness and the comedic moments. Just the whole feel of it, the epic scale of it. As he does say at the end of his review as well, Dave, all the little Easter eggs that you miss, that you have to go back and watch numerous times. Final thing I will add is I didn't really touch upon this. I love the way they introduced all these characters as well. You had 20, 30 characters, and I thought they done a fantastic job of organically introducing every one of them. It didn't take you out of the film when Steve Rogers appeared on the train platform. It didn't take you out of the film when you were introduced to all the side characters who maybe weren't as important to the role, like the dwarf played by Peter Dinklage. It was just excellently handled all throughout, and I thought it was epic.
I think that's the recipe for the success, John. They've had 10 years to introduce these characters, so you don't have to be bogged down in this movie with introducing them. This is one of the things that really bugged me about DC.
Yeah.
Introducing all these characters into, I think it was maybe their 4th DC EU movie at this point, with the Man of Steel, Suicide Squad, and Batman v Superman before, and then we got Justice League. I think that's right. Might have got Wonder Woman just before it. Was it enough time to introduce these characters and get to know them too well? I know we all know Superman, we all know Wonder Woman, but these incarnations of them certainly didn't. And the tone as well probably didn't help. I think, Marvel, you can say what they want, they know how to add the humour in at the right time. Sometimes it's a little silly, but you accept that, and you can come to terms with that very quickly. When you've got such a variety of characters in there. With DC, they were all too samey. They had all the same kind of tone, the same mood to them, and that's what made it so flat, the Justice League. But we're not here to talk about that. And we're just going to move on now. This is a movie that I reviewed, John, and this was starring a very young Thanos, Josh Brolin. Very, very young. This is going back to 1985. This is the Richard Donner movie. It was written by Steven Spielberg and Chris Columbus. This is The Goonies, starring Sean Astin, Josh Brolin, Jeff Cohen, Corey Feldman, Kerry Green, Martha Plimpton. The list goes on. You've got Anne Ramsey in there, the legendary Anne Ramsey, very funny lady. And this is a story about Mikey and Brandon Walsh, who are brothers, and their family are preparing to move because of developers want to build a golf course in place of their neighbourhood, and they're having one last adventure as the Goonies. That's what the gang is called, and they stumble across some old treasure map and go on this adventure, and they've got the Fratellis, who's the criminals in this movie, led up by Anne Ramsey's Mama Fratelli. The tone of this film is very funny. It's got some kind of scary moments in it for kids, but this is a movie that I grew up with. Director Richard Donner, who directed the Superman the movie, the 1978 movie, and he was uncredited on, I think, the second one as well. Yeah. A fantastic director.
Directed Omen as well, Stephen, another fantastic film.
He's an amazing guy. And a couple of Lethal Weapons, I'm sure, maybe 2 or 3 of them, in fact maybe them all, I'm not sure, but it's a great film, John. If you've not seen this, 7.8 out of 10 on IMDb. Has it aged? The fashion certainly has, especially that red headband that Brandon Walsh, aka Josh Brolin's wearing. But the humour in this is very funny. It's really, really well written by Steven Spielberg and Chris Columbus, who are a great team of writers for this movie, and it's a film I do go back to. I actually saw this, I think it was on Sky Movies about a month ago, and I just decided to write my thoughts on this, which you can read on the blog, but I thoroughly enjoyed this. It's one of my favourite films of the 1980s.
Yeah, and it just shows you again the sheer versatility of Steven Spielberg. Steven is a writer. The guy writes every type of genre going. He writes one of the greatest thriller horrors in Jaws, and then he goes on to write The Goonies, and he does a whole host of other incredible films. It just shows you the versatility of that man. But what I find fascinating about this film is looking at all the cast members and going back and seeing how they aged and where they all began in some cases. And the likes of Sean Astin, who came back to prominence. I don't want to be harsh and say he came back to prominence. I'm sure he's had a good career out with The Lord of the Rings, but that's the one that sticks in my mind, The Goonies and The Lord of the Rings. Obviously Josh Brolin, the guy hasn't aged. He still looks the same, even back then. He's even got the muscles. Jeff Cohen, Corey Feldman, tragic figure, that guy. Terrible what's happened to him, but again, hasn't really aged that much. Still got great hair as well. You go through the whole list. You've also got Jonathan Key Kwan as well, who was in the Temple of Doom. Fantastic young cast. And when you watch the film, what strikes me is just how extraordinarily mature some of these characters are. Obviously the little fat kid whose name forgets me. You'll tell me. Chunk. I've not seen it in a while, but what did strike me when I watched it was just the maturity of some of the characters and the maturity of the acting on show. It was incredible. They all had their own distinct little personalities. They came together. Put me in mind of a lesser film. It wasn't written by Steven Spielberg, but one that I used to love when I was a little boy, the Little Rascals, where it was a similar concept, but it wasn't. It was just similar in the sense that it was young characters in a group, but they all had distinct personalities and they all shone through, and that was down to the incredibly mature acting for all of their ages. The story was thoroughly enjoyable as well, Stephen. Also, they're diving down to these big interconnected cave systems, and they're mixing with these oddities down there, be it the one-eyed, I forget his name, the pirate, One-Eyed Willie, and then you've got Sloth as well, that oddity, which some people thought was real.
Yeah.
I'm still not sure, Stephen. I asked you before we come on, is that a mixture of practical effects, mixture of stop motion and prosthetics? I don't know. Also, you says it was a tragic figure, the guy who played him, American footballer.
Yeah, John, I think his name was John Matusik or something like that. I can't remember. He died, I think it was only in his late 30s at the time. As you said, John, he was an American football player. He plays Sloth, an iconic character of the 80s. Him and Chunk had some of the best scenes. The person that played Chunk, Jeff Cohn, he's so different now, obviously. He's all grown up now, obviously, but he was
less hair.
He was such a great character in this movie, so funny. For a boy, he couldn't have been anything a day over 12 at the time when he was doing this. I don't really know his age, but he was just an amazing performance from him. But they all collectively were a good group of actors that were really acting beyond their age. You know, like I was talking about last week with John Hughes films and how he gets teenagers and how he can understand and get into the minds of how they think. Steven Spielberg does this just as good. He understands how these characters should work, the relationships between each other, the dynamics as well. They've all got different dynamics in there as well. You just got to look at his films round about that time, like E.T. You know, he knows how to write good child characters, you know, and you were saying just before we come on, you know, when we were just kind of looking back at some of the trailers, and you said it had that It feel to it. You know, and I think the 2017 It movie took inspiration from the likes of the Goonies and Stand By Me in that sense, where they got these group of kids who would stick together through thick and thin. They were a good unit and they were well written, and you can see that here for all these actors. As you said, John, a lot of these actors have went on to do great things. You know, I don't think many of them have suffered from the child actor syndrome. You know, Corey Feldman is a different kettle of fish. That, you know, that guy, a lot's come out about him in the last few years in regards to the sort of seedy underbelly of Hollywood, but he's consistent. If you look at his profile on IMDb, he's still churning out the movies. He was very close to Corey Haim. It was one of his best buddies, another tragic figure who passed away about a decade ago. You know, both of them were in the Lost Boys together, and you know, I'm kind of digressing here, but it's just a great film. The villains in it as well, the Fratellis, you know, led up by Anne Ramsey. You've got Joe Pantoliano in there as well, who'd gone to play Cypher in The Matrix, and you've got Robert Davi in there as well, who plays Jake Fratelli. He also played one of I think he was an FBI agent in Die Hard. So he goes, my link to Die Hard. I always have a link to Die Hard somewhere in there.
5 degrees of separation of Kevin Bacon, Steve.
So, as I said, you know, the review, I actually enjoyed writing this one because it's one of those movies that, you know, I just like to go back to and relive, basically reliving my youth as well, because it's a well-written film.
Yeah, and that's the prevailing theme, Stephen, that you do see with this film. People go back and they re-watch it, and it's some of people's favourite films of all time, and they're not scared to let everyone know it as well. And I was reading another review somebody put out, and it's very true. You can rhyme off this being one of your favourite films, and people will start shouting out lines, and that shows you how timeless it really is. It connected with a whole host of people, even connects with people of a younger generation. I certainly wasn't alive when this film was out, and as it's infinitely quotable, you've also got the truffle shuffle stuff, and just a whole host of great moments within the film, and visually it was beautiful as well. And I've not got much more to add to it, but it really was a thoroughly enjoyable film that I watched when I was a young boy in the 90s. Really enjoyed it. And the reason's pretty obvious, because you can connect with these characters that are around about the same age as you, and that's down to Steven Spielberg's fantastic writing, as you says. Guy that really does know how to put believable and enjoyable youthful characters on screen. And you're completely right, Stephen, with the rest of the actors involved in this. None of them really have suffered from the Macaulay Culkin syndrome, I like to call it, or the Jake Lloyd syndrome, where they've just taken a complete downward spiral and crashed and burned in their career, and acting has been done. I'm not saying every single one of them, but you look through the whole list of the younger characters, and they've been pretty consistently in work for the past 30 years, so that hats off to them as well. Also, the most successful one is Josh Brolin, by a mile for me. Absolutely love that guy. He's one of my favourite actors. Really good guy off screen as well. And yeah, I mean, I'm gibbering on here, Stephen, but yes, thoroughly enjoyed the film. One of my favourite Steven Spielberg written films.
Yeah, and we're just going to move back to the future here, John, with 2018 Skyscraper. This is a review that you wrote. We've talked about this in great length on the box office chat.
Yes.
I am going to go and see this with my dad at the end of this week, as I said earlier on this week. This is directed by Ross and Marshall Thruber, starring Dwayne Johnson, Neve Campbell and Chin Han. We talked about this on the last box office chat in regards to the ratings there, John, but your experience of this movie was a little less to be desired, because it wasn't a movie that you were expecting to see.
No, it wasn't. I wasn't going to go and watch it originally, Stephen. I think I'm pretty sure I said that in one of the box office chats. But I was bored. I had something to do. I had time to kill, and I thought, screw it, I'll go and watch the latest Dwayne Johnson crazy, cheesy, one-liner filmed action film. I've seen San Andreas back in the day. I'm saying that as if it was 20 years ago. It was only a couple of years ago. And it's much in the same vein, this film. It's just wacky. He is playing the big bravado, machismo, muscular, leading man who will do absolutely anything to save his family. It was the same in San Andreas. I believe it was his daughter who was trapped in a building. Yeah, and Rampage as well. He's very good at playing the leading man in these type of action films. They're just a cast, they're like a throwback to the 1980s B-action movies that were parodied so well in that film that I can't even remember, that I watched on YouTube. It's shocking, but it was a thoroughly enjoyable film. Kung Fury just came to my mind. It was parodied beautifully in that, and he's carrying the torch for these films into the 21st century. We thought we'd get rid of them after the 90s with Stallone and Arnie, but no. Dwayne's continuing to carry the flag, and he does it beautifully, despite it being cheesy, a bit cringeworthy at moments. And I've mentioned this previously. One of the moments where he jumps off of a crane, which has been beamed back to people on the ground, thousands of people, Asian people watching it, cheering them and celebrating them getting into the building, the fired building. Why would you want to jump into a fired building? I'm sorry. I'd leave my family if it was me, sorry. But it's not me, this is Dwayne. I stand corrected, it's not Dwayne. Will Sawyer, even, who is a security personnel or an advisor, and he's well versed in the layout of the building, so he knows what he's doing. But he jumps in and he meets up with his wife after kicking one of the guys that's trying to attack her off into a precipice. And he just turns to her and says to her, "How you doing? Are you okay?" or something along those lines. I'm paraphrasing. She is not even put out one bit at seeing her husband 1,000 feet up in the air in a burning building. So that gives you an idea of what we're dealing with here. It's crazy, it's cringeworthy, it's Dwayne Johnson all over. I'm saying that as if it's a put down, but I love the guy. I thoroughly love him. I think he's an incredibly inspirational chap, and I love the fact that he appears in all these films sometimes 3, 4, 5 times a year. And this has been one of the things that's been through against this as perhaps a negative. People not connecting with this film as well because they're becoming oversaturated with Dwayne Johnson. I don't believe that's the case at all. I just think it's speculated on in the box office chat that it's not done as well at the box office. I believe it's only up $260 million or something worldwide. The reason behind that, I think, is just because it is set in Hong Kong, and it has got a largely Asian cast, and there's going to be a whole host of Western society going to be put off of that for whatever reason. I don't know why. I wasn't. But you have got various other people that are not Asian in there. Pablo Schreiber, Roland Moore, who I loved from The Land of Mine. It was a brilliant Danish foreign language film. And he's amazing at playing antagonists, and he does a fantastic job as playing the antagonist Chorus Boffa in this as well. There was a kind of a split story going on. You've got the primary story of Will Sawyer going to save his family from this burning building, but at the same time you've got, I believe it was Zhao Longji, played by Chin Han, who was the architect and designer of the building, having a running battle with Chorus Boffa, played by the aforementioned Roland Moore. So that was going on in the background. I wasn't as connected to that and invested in that. I just wanted to see more of Will Sawyer, aka Dwayne Johnson, doing his thing. And if you go into this film not expecting too much, expecting a bit of escapism, a nice popcorn flick with all the cheesiness that accompanies a Dwayne Johnson action film, then you'll not be disappointed. It's not going to win any Oscars, but none of his action films ever will. They're just classic homage to the 80s action films. Obviously, some of Arnie's films were incredible and they stand the test of time, the likes of Predator, Terminator. But this is what you get from Dwayne Johnson. He's a varied actor. I don't want to put him down and say he just does these types of films, but he stars in these sort of roles.
Rowson Marshall Thurber, or
Yeah.
Thurber, I think that's how you pronounce it, John.
Yeah.
I know that his work is mostly in sort of comedy films, from Dodgeball to We're the Millers and stuff like that. What was the humour like in this film? Was it overbearing, or was it more sort of more in the background to an action movie?
No, it was more in the background to an action movie, Stephen. I think I'm not sure if it was intentional. Some of the moments were quite funny. I was laughing my head off. Just ridiculous in the state of it all. You had one moment where Sarah Sawyer, Will's wife, played by Neve Campbell, runs out onto a metal platform in the middle of the centre of this building, and a big crane comes crashing down and misses her by a hair. I was laughing at that because it's a classic action set piece. You just expect it to be flung in. You usually see this in the horror genre. You get all the well-trodden horror tropes get flung in. Well, this is the same with the action. The action in this film and all the set pieces, you know they're coming before they come. And it's the same with the one-liners, Stephen. You've got moments where Will Sawyer saying, if you can't fix it with duct tape, then you haven't used enough duct tape. It's just cheesy, you're laughing at it. And then there was a moment where Roland Morris' character says, no clever boys like you will always try to be clever. And I scratched my head with that. I'm like, well, if he's clever again, then yeah, he's going to try to be clever. So it was more on the side. It wasn't really hammering you with comedy, but I was laughing at some of the bits, and I think it was unintentional.
Yeah, I'm just looking at. I didn't realise that the director and Dwayne Johnson had worked before in Central Intelligence from a few years ago. But just looking for what's coming up next for Dwayne Johnson, John. One of the movies that sort of stands out to me is this Black Adam.
Black Adam, yeah.
This is I know that he's rumoured to be appearing in the Suicide Squad 2 as Black Adam as well, but before that we're going to get that movie. We already knew that Jumanji 2 was in the works as well. And another one,
Andreas too as well. How's that going to work?
I'm very surprised with that one. But another one that stands out for me is Big Trouble in Little China remake. He's playing Jack Burton. He's rumoured to be playing that is. But that's been announced that they are going to do a remake of Big Trouble in Little China. So it's he's got a busy time ahead of him. But I'm going to go and see this with my dad. I know my dad. He likes these type of films. He likes Dwayne Johnson. He likes Jason Statham as well. So it's that type of movie, you know. It's not going to. It's not exactly Shakespeare or anything like that. But it's just one of those escapism type movies, and I'll go along, and I think I'll enjoy it for the fact I know what I'm going to be getting to see. You know, just on your review, John, and I don't mind that. I don't mind going and see these type of films if they're made with those intentions, that they're not taking themselves too seriously. Yeah. And the fact that it's directed and written by a man who has previous history in writing some very good comedies, I'll certainly take that on board. But we're just going to move on to our final movie this week in the Movie Burner blog rundown, and this is another one that you wrote, John. This is The Secret of Marrowbone. This was actually initially made in 2017, didn't come out here till the 13th of July. A bit of a delay in the release of that. This is a drama horror thriller directed by Sergio G. Sanchez, who also wrote this movie, and stars George Mackay, Anya Taylor-Joy and Charlie Heaton. Yeah,
I think we speculated on this one, Steve, when it was in the box office. It didn't have a long stint in the top 10 of the UK box office, but I speculated, I'm still not sure if this is the case, but that it may have been going around in its original guise as Marrowbone, probably seeking distribution rights, maybe at festivals throughout the world. I don't know if that's true. And then it also got a distribution deal from some studio or whatever, or distributor, and then it got rebranded to The Secret of Marrowbone. And then it's obviously appeared in 2018 in its wide release. I don't know if that's the case, but I thoroughly enjoyed this film. I thought it was a decent little film. It's not going to win any Oscars either, but certainly if it was to be nominated for an Oscar, and it's not going to be, but if it was, then it would be George Mackay who would be getting a nomination, because this guy is just a fantastically talented actor. I loved him in Captain Fantastic. He really held his own alongside Viggo Mortensen in that film as the conflicted eldest son in that, and he's the same in this. He's the eldest sibling in a group of 4, and he's really trying to hold it together with all hell breaking loose in the house. They've lost their mother, they're hiding the death of their mother to try and remain together in this house. It's kind of out in the wilderness. They live across the valley from Anya Taylor-Joy's character Ali, who's a friend of them, and it's an interesting film. It's also one of these psychological ones. They try to keep it hidden, what's really happening. you've got something going on in the attic that's slowly unravelled as the film goes through. You've got a lawyer character, I can't remember, I think it's Kyle Sola, who is sniffing around. He's trying to get money together to try and buy shares within this lawyer firm, and he's sniffing around because he's heard and read in newspaper cuttings that there may be money hidden in the household. He realises that the signature's been forged and that the mother's not really there, and he starts sniffing around. And you've got the back and forth between George Mackay and Anya Taylor-Joy's characters. It's a love interest going on there. Charlie Heaton, fantastic actor as well. Really, really impressed with him in the film. He's also been in Stranger Things. He's going to be in the New Mutants alongside Anya Taylor-Joy as well. Anya Taylor-Joy, another incredibly talented actress, and she's very good in this too. And the way that Sergio G. Sanchez unravels the story, I thought it was quite intelligently done. There's a couple of little twists in there, but fairly telegraphed. But the one at the end in particular, when the father's revealed to still be alive. Incidentally, he's the noise that's scuffling around up in the attic. There's bangs and whatnot up in the attic. But there's a tragic reveal as well with the Jack character. We see mirrors getting covered up. You think it's a supernatural thing going on where they're scared to look in the mirrors in case they see a ghost or something, but it's revealed that he, in an altercation with his father, which is revealed through a flashback incidentally, he gets flung off a cliff. The father goes back and murders his 3 siblings, and then he somehow knocks him out, I believe, in the attic, bricks him up in the attic. He's surviving on rat corpses and stuff like that. But Jack's been hallucinating and seeing his 2 brothers and his sister with him, and it's a tragic reveal. He's suffering from mental illness, he's in denial, and then we get a standoff with the father at the end. I'm giving it on a little bit here, I'm giving the whole plot away, but it was a thoroughly enjoyable little film for what it was. It's not the best one I've seen this year by any means, but it took me by surprise and I enjoyed it. I get great enjoyment out of the performances in the main. The story was fairly average to above average. The reveals were fairly telegraphed, as I did say. But there was a nice little ending. George Mackay, utterly outstanding actor. Can't wait to see what he does in the future. And he was supported by 2 brilliant performances from Anya Taylor-Joy and Charlie Heaton as well.
Yeah, George Mackay from Sunshine and Leith, that's what I know him from. He's, as you said, John, a terrific actor. Anya Taylor-Joy and Charlie Heaton I'm also looking forward to seeing in the New Mutants if they ever make this movie. Well, they have made it, they're just doing a lot of reshoots and stuff like that at the moment, but thoroughly looking forward to that. Reading your review, John, it's a film that I do want to see now. You know, I'm not the biggest horror fan out there, but when you look at films like A Quiet Place, which is it's deemed horror, but it's more sort of supernatural thriller, it's right down my street. I'm getting the vibes off of this as well. I'm not saying it's in the exact same film, but the same type of genre, same tone as well. I have heard people saying that the sort of finale to the movie is a little underwhelming. Whether that's, I don't know, but you can take it with a pinch of salt.
Yeah, what I will say, Stephen, is he builds it. It's a very slow burn film. He slowly reveals what's going on, and it is maybe a slightly underwhelming because they just take the father out with one shot of a gun and that's it. But I liked the ending and the fact that we got to see the character of Jack being redeemed from his unhappiness and his delusion that his siblings are around. He finds happiness, I believe, with Ali, played by Anya Taylor-Joy. So it was good in that sense. Yeah. But I can get on board with the underwhelming. I think what
a story leaves behind as well is important. You know, the sort of repercussions of that act as well, which is going to, you know, obviously have an effect on these characters after the film is finished. I had that same effect, you know, that same feel to the 1922 film as well. I felt the ending was a little underwhelming, but it did make me think with the sort of final act, the repercussions of how these characters would be after the movie had ended. So I totally get that.
Yeah, I mean, I've not got much more to add, Stephen. And then that's going to bring us into the end of this week's episode of the Movie Burner Blog Rundown, where we break down the previous reviews on the Movie Burner Blog. We'd just like to thank you for listening to us once again, and we'll be back next week.
Remember guys, if you enjoyed that episode, then do hit that like button, comment below, and maybe subscribe to the channel if you haven't done already. If you want to follow us on social media for all the latest updates from Movie Burner Entertainment, then we can be found on Twitter and Facebook at Movie Burners. You can also listen to us on Google Play and iTunes at the Movie Burner Podcast. And last but not least, if you want to access all the latest written reviews and the occasional article, then that can be found on our website at movieburnerentertainment.org. Until the next time, goodbye.